Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Grow Your Business Smarter, Live Your Optimal Life TV show. Thanks so much for joining us today. I have a special guest here with us, Wendy Lee, friend to the show, and also somebody who has been asked back by popular demand. So, hey, we are all about what you want as our viewers. And so if you say you want Wendy back, guess what we're going to do? We're going to bring Wendy back. I just want to take a moment to say thank you so much to Win-Win Women Network for inviting our web show, our podcast, to be a part of this wonderful thing that you have building here, which supports women internationally. We're excited to be a part of this, and we're glad that you're tuning in and being a part of it this way as well. Our TV show is called Grow Your Business Smarter, Live Your Optimal Life. Kind of rolls off the tongue, doesn't it? No, it totally doesn't. To be honest, it's a pretty long TV show name. And if you can come up with a name that encapsulates what we're trying to express, that's much shorter and much pithier, we do invite you to let us know, because I'm all about changing if things aren't working well. But it's called Grow Your Business Smarter because, ladies and ladies, here's the deal. When you are in abundance, then you're able to give your clients the very best of what you have to offer. But when you're in struggle and stress and strain, your attention's a little bit divided. And so we're here bringing you all sorts of experts who really know about the mechanics and also the spiritual side of growing your business, but not growing your business where you have to work harder and push harder and do more. Because here's what I know for sure. There are tons of people out there who are just working their little tail feathers off all day long, every day, and they're not growing with the exponential capacity that they actually have the potential to grow. And then you have some people who have figured it out, who they grow exponentially without that stress and that strain. Sometimes, to be honest, the struggle holds us back. So we're here to talk about how to make more money. And yes, guys, I know a lot of you are saying it's not about the money, Davia, but you know what? It kind of is, because when you're not in struggle, you can attend to the creativity that source wants to pull through you. Number two, when you are abundant, you can share your abundance in a greater way. And number three, when you are abundant, you can get your message heard in a bigger, better way. Your reach is amplified in a way that is just, we can't quantify it. It happens automatically. So yes, we do talk about money on the show, and also the second half, that live your optimal life. Remember when you decided you wanted to be an entrepreneur and you thought, oh, I'm going to have all this ease, and oh, I'm going to have all this flow, and oh, I'm going to have all this time freedom. That's what we want for you. And that's what we're going to talk a little bit about too on this show. So it's both sides of this coin of being a small business owner, being a woman in business, of being an entrepreneur, being a solopreneur. All these things contribute to you being the very best that you can be. Okay, we've had enough of me and my monologue. May I introduce to you my very dear friend? I love this woman. I probably, if she'd been born my twin, I would have loved her maybe a little bit more, but I doubt it, really. She's amazing. She's coming to us all the way from Texas, and she's going to tell us today a lot about leadership. She has a story in corporate where she used to be, let me make sure I get this right, senior vice president. And now she's here supporting us in small business to make sure that we can achieve the success that she was able to get for her blue chip company. So Wendy, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. And can you just share with everybody a little bit about who you are and what it is that you do in the world?
Absolutely. First of all, thank you so much for having me today. And thank you for having this platform. Like everything that you were saying, I was like, yep, 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 to all of the above, because it's so important that we remind ourselves. I think deep down, we know all this stuff, right? But it's so easy to get distracted and we get in that old reptile brain and it starts telling us all these stories. I call them the fake ass stories. It's not real, but we believe it and then we get stuck and then you know how it works. So thank you so much for having me. So I'm not sure if I can do the monologue as Dr. Davia did, but I will be glad to introduce myself a little bit. So my name is Wendy Lee. And my business is LeadHerShip Revolution. That was born out of really transformation, my own transformation. I was in the corporate world forever and a day. And while I was in corporate, I had this moment where I was like, I don't think I'm living optimally. Now, I didn't think that. What I thought was, oh my God, I can't get my SHIT together. I feel like I'm this high-level SVP of HR, but deep down, I was very questioning my ability, my self-worth, all of that. And of course, you know, that trickles out to everything. And I had this breakdown. I had this, you can call it an aha moment. It was a breakdown that led me on this path of self-discovery. And in that, I decided that my time in the corporate world was done and I started my own business. So I like to introduce myself as I am a certified transformational life coach. I am a best-selling author. I am, thank you to Dr. Davia, I am an international speaker. But what I really am at the core, those are the vessels I use to express who I really am. Who I really am is a person just like you that knows deep down there's more, right? There's more to what we do with the day-to-day. There's more that I needed to excavate from my past and work through some of those things, and that the personality that I had become was really not who I really was deep down inside. So I just have this mission of transformation, because when you don't know, you don't know. And I just thought, oh, my life, this is how it's going to be. I'm going to work really hard. I'm going to get the attention of other people through what I do and how much I give of myself. Then they will love me and all will be well. And I did that in every single aspect of my life until my soul said, nope, we're not going to do that anymore. And I started realizing, oh, these are just patterns. This is just responses that I learned to do, but it's not really who I am. So we're all this myriad of things, but we tend to just have one little sliver that we show up in life. And usually that's what we do for a living, but a lot of us aren't really living our life through our living. It's like a means to an end. And imagine if it didn't have to be that way, right? That's the freedom. That's the peace that we're looking for. So even though I have my own business and I have all these other things, I'm also a practicing yogi. I'm a dog and animal advocate. I love to volunteer. I sing in a 12-piece horn band and get to dress up in sequins outfits and have a damn good time on the weekends. Like, we have all these parts of us. And that to me is what leadership is, right? How are you choosing to lead your life and expressing yourself to your fullest? Everything else falls into place. You know what I'm talking about, Davia.
I love everything that you're saying, and I love that you bring in all those different pieces of yourself, because they are all the pieces that make the whole you.
Yeah.
You know, I'm feeling this sense of shifting or sense of transformation going on right now. Y'all are going to see it in a couple of weeks because I'm going to change my hair color. So whenever I start to feel transformations happening, look out here. That's where it starts. It starts with the hair, but I'm kidding. This morning was day one of school for my littles. One of my littles is going to a new school. The other one, he's going to be riding. Poor little sweetie. He had to ride the bus all by himself this morning because he and his older brother will never, ever, ever go to the same school together again because their paths have diverged. And, you know, it just made me tear up a little bit, guys. And if I start crying on the show today, don't be alarmed. It's all tears of joy. But it just had me thinking that everything has a season and everything has a time. And there's this thought or quote that floats around on the internet that talks about everything happens for a reason and everything has a season. And I feel as though we're at a little turning point, not just for me and my littles, but we're at a turning point for very many of us. There's change in the air. Seasons are changing. We're just coming into that new moon. Lots of things are happening. And I'm wondering, Wendy, if you're feeling that shift as well.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. And thank you for sharing about your littles, because that is a real deal, right? Feeling. I mean, talk about transformation. And when you're that young, right? So interesting you're saying this, because when you're that young, you don't have the capability to make sense of all that, right? You just feel and see a piece of that. And then that kind of sticks with you. And I feel like absolutely there's this shift. It's kind of interesting, and you guys tell me, you ladies, tell me if you can relate to this. You know, when you look back on your life and you've had a big transformation, do you ever feel like just like this sense of unease or unrest or frustration, or like you gotta wiggle or move, like you know that you're not supposed to be where you are, and it's time to make that change, but there's so much thoughts and scariness around it, and how do I pivot and how do I change? Or maybe you don't do that at all. Maybe you stay exactly where you are because it feels safer. But I feel like all of this agitation we've been having, especially over the last couple of years, it's for a reason, right? It's trying to shake us to get our attention, because maybe we can't do it on our own. That yes, it's this time to shift. It's the time to change into the next thing. But every time we get to that point, our ego is like, no, we're not going to do that. It's a threat that if I change and move into another direction. So it's perfectly natural to kind of get resistant to it. So I just want you to feel like, are you feeling those things in your life? And if we rename it and don't put judgment on it, but just get curious about it and look at it, maybe it's not about being agitated. Maybe it's about, oh, this is just kind of that little flame underneath us that's trying to get us to move into that next part of who we really are. Because it starts with us, right? We're not broken. We don't need to be fixed. We're disconnected from the who we really are. And when we start getting this in order, meaning getting back to it, everything else starts shifting. But it's like this powerful time in our life right now. And I believe, especially for the feminine energy of bringing in the compassion, bringing in our vulnerability, bringing in our ability to connect, bringing in our nurturing, all that energy. And by the way, it's men and women, but it's a feminine energy. It's calling us to lead in a different way now, in a way that's truer to how we are really created. And I think that's what it's just trying to do. It's trying to just get our attention. So I don't know about you, but right before I'm about to make that leap, it does not feel comfortable. There's some discomfort there.
Mm-hmm.
And in the past, it might have been, oh, I feel uncomfortable. That means I'm not supposed to go in that direction. I challenge us to think about maybe that's exactly what it's trying to do, is tell us, no, you're on the right path. And we just rename it.
I love that. A lot of us we're doing the thing that we do, the thing that's our business, and we don't really consider ourselves, Wendy, as leaders. And I can understand that because I feel like I used to, at some point, fall into that category too. I had tremendous training in the area of expertise that I work in, but I never really wanted or leaned into that leadership role. But leadership was always calling me, as always being called to head up a committee or lead the trainings or be the one to go to the conferences to learn the information and bring it back. I have a gift of being able to very simply break down more complicated ideas. It's probably because I have little tinies and I'm very accustomed to talking to 5-year-olds. I don't know what that is, but it's a skill, and I have apparently mastered it. And so I always get called in to be the one to teach things or share things or support or help. But my approach to what leadership is tended to be that top-down leadership, where there's somebody at the top, usually an older man at the top, telling everybody else what to do. That's what I grew up understanding leadership to be. That's what I believed a leadership to be, and I did not want to have anything to do with that. I have since come to embrace this idea of collaborative leadership, leadership where you are sovereign. You're amazing at the thing that you do. And I am also sovereign. I'm amazing at the thing that I do. And we each link arms together and support each other. You're responsible for your piece. I'm responsible for my piece. But we get together, and together we're able to produce the product that is so much more robust than would happen if I was trying to boss you around or you were trying to boss me around. It's just more amazing this way. Everybody takes responsibility and everybody gives of their best. What's been your experience with leadership, Wendy? How do you feel about what I'm talking about?
First of all, I totally agree with everything that you're saying. I get that. And I can just see like this evolution of leadership, right? So I was in the corporate world for about 30 years. You can try to guess how old I am. That's fine. Go ahead. But I was in leadership from
So basically, since you were born, then.
Since I was born, yeah. I was 2 when I started. But let me tell you what leadership was even back in the day, right? Talk about top down. It was like very heavy, one direction. And, it was the older male who was typically white. I mean, let's be honest here. That was just kind of the thought. And it was very, I know everything. You don't know. I'm going to tell you what to do. You're going to do exactly what I'm going to say. There's no exchange of energy. And, unfortunately, there was also some chauvinistic things And it wasn't just, I want to be clear on this, because it wasn't just, how men treated women. It was also how men treated other men. It was just it was a power trip. It was very much, I've got the power. You're going to do what I say because I know best, right? And I did that forever and ever. And by the way, that fit my personality perfect, because I was not resolute in who I was leading my own life. So of course, it felt good. I felt almost safe in a structured environment where you just tell me what to do and I will go do it for you. And I will do it perfectly, and I will put in all my hard effort, because I didn't have a sense of myself. But as things started to evolve and things started to change, I really feel like it's not just about the classical sense of I work in a business or I work in corporate and there's a leadership role for me. And that's what I strive for. I strive to work up the ladder and become this leader. What if you are already a leader? Imagine if, I used to have this debate with people. Do you think that people are naturally born leaders, or can they learn to be a leader? And I think I've toggled between a few. Like you said, it's easy for you to kind of step up and take responsibility and, take the lead, so to speak. And some people feel very uncomfortable with that. I'm here to kind of challenge the old school. What if leadership was about that you show up and lead your life in all areas? Your friendships, your business ships, your significant other relationships, with your children, with your coworkers, with anybody that you come up in. You take the best decision for yourself and lead in a way that first serves your needs, right? Because so much of the time when we get into any kind of partnership, which that's what we're talking about, I like the idea of compromise, but I also like the idea that, do you really know what's important to you and what matters? Because if you don't, you're going to just get engulfed in the other person's energy. And that doesn't serve that partnership at all. You want the two energies to come together, and through that, come up with some sort of melded thing that then brings this new thing to light. But what I see people doing is they feel like they have to have the title in order to take the responsibility. Your ability to respond in life starts with how you see yourself leading your life in all aspects. Are you speaking up for yourself? Are you taking responsibility? Do you see that you are part of the equation and the common denominator in all of your relationships? Because honestly, when you get that part kind of as your priority, everything else is easier, because now you see things in a different light. You're like, oh, it all comes back to me and how I'm showing up. The other person is just mirroring. They're just bringing in ideas. I still get to decide yes or no. But we don't start with that. We feel like we have to have permission. Ooh, this is coming through good now. We have to have permission to be a leader and to lead the life that we want to lead. And what if we're just doing it backwards? What if this whole time we've been doing it backwards? And what could now be available if we start here first and grow out? And then, oh my gosh, the relationships are so much more rich, because I don't have to be responsible for how you feel, how you react, what you're doing. And you don't have to be responsible for how I'm acting, how I'm feeling, what I'm doing. Like you said, we come in sovereign and we're already at this different level. And then it doesn't feel like we have to try at anything. And we could try it on. Hey, does this feel good for you? Yes or no? Because not everything is ours. Some of it is ours and some of it isn't. So I love that we're having these conversations about leadership. And to me, that's the feminine quality. Having those discernment and that compassion for yourself first. All right, let's go.
I love that. I have been taking really good
I
notes
saw
while
you
you've been
taking
talking
notes.
because it was golden. Very,
Yeah.
very good. Love it so much.
Yeah.
Ahead of each show, I light my candle, pull a card, and just tune into what is the essence of the thought that we need to take from this show into the coming week. And the card that I pulled for us today is called Spirit of
Mhm.
Place. This is a card from the Enchanted Map by Colette Baron Reed. And this actually is a new deck for us here on the show, was sent in to us by one of our viewers, and she wanted us to pull from this deck. So perhaps for the next few shows, I'll be pulling from this deck and giving us some nice thoughts for the day. If you find value in any of this, we can continue this conversation over in our Ladies Power Lunch group at growsmarternotharder.com/Facebook. So here's what the card says. The plants, trees, birds, mountains, and rivers have their own essence. When the spirit of the place, which is the card that we pulled, arrives, it says that the answer to your query is the overarching theme of your circumstances. Is your question about a struggle? The answer is to relax and let go of your need to control the situation. If your inquiry relates to finding love, then embody love rather than long for it. Once you find the essential truth that underlines your question and then name it, you'll discover the answer you've been seeking. Your greatest power is in your authenticity. I feel like this flows really, really well with what you were just talking about how perhaps we've been approaching this idea of leadership backwards. We need to start with leading ourselves, looking at how we're leading our lives, looking at how we're connecting with everybody else, taking responsibility for ourselves and how we feel, and not trying to control how other people are feeling or how the things that we're doing are relating to others. How is this card landing for you, Wendy?
The main thing that just hit me was the authenticity part, right? Authentic, being authentic. Because when we're not resolute in ourselves, we're being and doing for everybody else of how we think they want us to be. And I don't know about you, but that is exhausting. It's exhausting to be something that you're not, but it's also very, very, very understandable. So if you're in that mindset, give yourself some grace, give yourself a break, don't beat yourself up about it. This is how the pattern works, right? When we're kids, we look up to our caretakers and they hold all the keys. So in order for us to survive, we have to respond to them in a way that's going to make us feel like we're loved, because they're the ones that are taking care of us. Well, in that messaging, sometimes we get separated from who we really are. And especially, as you know, anything that's a trauma, meaning where you didn't feel safe, you didn't feel heard, you didn't feel validated, which we all have those. Part of that comes from our own trauma that we pass on down the line, generation from generation to generation. We all have it and we all do it, but we get separated from that authentic self. And isn't it interesting that then sometimes we take on this leadership role, and I almost feel like it's in a way to make ourselves feel better about ourselves. But have you noticed that sometimes when you're in that, deemed leadership role, you're not really being yourself at all? you are catering to what is going on around you. I mean, how many times have you been in the role and haven't spoken exactly what you feel from your heart, held back from what you want to say, didn't express yourself, didn't ask a question to clarify because you didn't want to, like have anybody peek into the real you. You feel like you have to be on, you feel like you have to be perfect. I have to do this just right. If I don't say the right thing, if you don't think I have the right authority and I don't look like I know what I'm doing. So then we get into this fake mode of ourselves, and it's not true. And that's why it comes back to leading yourself starts with, who are you really? And the thing is that we already know it deep down, but we question it and we question it. And then we keep doing these other things that we think people, and you know what? I love social media, but there's some aspects of it that don't help because most of us post the best pieces of us. And by the way, all the pieces are the best pieces of us, right? But we tend to label them as this is wrong or bad, so we hide those pieces. No, that's not the new way we're doing leadership. So the
That's
thing,
definitely not the new way we're
no,
doing
the
leadership.
authentic piece is, but you have to go back and you have to ask, who is this? What is this thought? Is that really me? Or did that come from a parent? Or did that come from a school? Or did that come from an authority? But it's not really me, but you take on that identity. There's so much freedom when you can get really, truly back to who you really are. Because then you just have to be.
Then you just
You
have
don't
to
have to
be.
do. You don't have to
Wendy, this is the
prove.
reason why we have to keep getting you back and back on the show, because before you know it, we've only scratched the surface and we've run out of time. So I just want to ask you, Wendy, people are chomping at the bit. They want to know, how can they get in touch with you? Can you just really quickly tell us how people can connect with you?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're really talking here about vulnerability, right? So I have an awesome guide and it gets you on my mailing list as well. It's called the Vulnerability Advantage. How can we get back into that vulnerability that has so many of those pieces, the benefits of it? So if you want to go to LeadHerShip Revolution /vulnerability, that's absolutely a way. You can follow me on Instagram, LeadHerShip Revolution, Wendy Lee on Facebook and on LinkedIn.
Thank you so much, Wendy, for sharing your gifts and talents with us. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining in with us today. And I'll see you guys on the next show. Okay, everybody, welcome back. Thanks so much for staying with us for the second half of our show. So, Wendy, so glad to have you on the show today. I'm really, really excited to get this conversation going about leadership and what it really means and how we can lead in a way that actually helps to increase our impact and increase our abundance. Thank you so much for tuning in, guys. We have so much going on with Ladies Power Lunch right now. One, where we have a brand new TV show. It's called Grow Your Business Smarter, Live Your Optimal Life. I invite you to tune in to us. You just need to go to growsmarter.harder.com/TV, or you can find us on your Roku, on your Fire TV, on your Apple TV, and just go to the Win Win Women app. We are on channel 2, not channel 1, but channel 2. So we're right up there. You can find us really, really easily. And what we talk about on that show is pretty much what we talk about here, growing your business smarter and using the energy from that to actually live the life that you are destined to live, to enjoy your life, to have more fun, more ease, more flow, more time freedom, more abundance in every aspect that life can bring abundance to you. Today, special guest, Wendy Lee, friend to the show, my friend, your friend, amazing woman. She's a transformational coach. She is a best-selling author. She's an international speaker. She has a new book coming out shortly. She has tons to share with us today about this idea of leadership, because leadership is changing. And the idea of that top-down leadership that we've had in the past, where there's this one person at the top, usually a gentleman, who shares leadership with all of us, and hopefully it trickles down to the bottom and we've all been led well. We're here to say that, you know what, maybe there's an opportunity to approach this leadership a whole different way, where I'm a leader and you're a leader and we're all leading and we're all taking responsibility for the pieces that are our pieces. And then we link arms and we produce a product, creativity that is so much greater, so much better than if we were all just siloed doing our stuff on our own. Wendy Lee, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. And I'd just like for you to, I know many of our guests know you, but for those who have never met you before, can you share with us who you are and what you do?
Absolutely. I got a flashback of when Oprah gave away cars. I'm like, you're a leader and you're a leader and you're a leader. We're all leaders. Thank you so much, my dear. You know, I adore you and I adore your energy and what you're doing in the world. So thank you for having me. Hi, everybody. I'm Wendy Lee. It's funny. I noticed that my name still says Wendy because I've been doing some online dating. And so when we do the little Zoom, I just put my name, but it doesn't have my full name on there. Wendy Lee with LeadHerShip Revolution. And I mean, the kind of like, you know, what would be on my resume is that I am a certified life coach, transformational life coach. So that means that I help support women and hold a space where you can understand that, wow, I can really think about things differently than I ever had before. That's what I call the miracle, the magic part of it, in a safe space, so that then I can transform those patterns that are just patterns. Our personality is not who we are. It's just a pattern that we've picked up in survival mode. I'm also an international bestseller. Beep, beep, beep. I will guide you to be the beacon. You may recognize this through Dr. Davia's efforts. And Liz, my dear friend Liz. I'm also an international speaker. So I do all kinds of speaking events and summits, and, you know, some in person, some over the internet. But I really love to talk to audiences, to have this exchange, right? It's a equal exchange, and have discussions like this. And I'm also a ton of million other things, right? I'm somebody that has gone through my own transformation. I've been through some bumps and bruises and some trauma, and have been lucky enough to have been supported in environments that I can get back connected to the real me. and have a fulfilling life, right? So I'm a practicing yoga. I like to do stuff for animals. Any rescued animal, I'm there. See the sign, it says sucker. I like to get strays. I'm also into music, so I love to sing in my band on the weekend and belt out some Aretha Franklin or shake my booty or whatever it is. But it's just a sense of freedom. And I think really that's what leadership is, right? Really embracing all those pieces of you and choosing to live the life that you want to. And it doesn't mean that you stay up in the clouds all the time with the cotton candy and the rainbows. That's part of it. It's also in the times that are the other feelings, all the feelings, right? So it's not a destination. It's all part of it. And I just feel so honored to have gotten to this place because our life is short. We're on this earth for a speck of time, and most of us spend our lives leading it for others or leading it in a way that's not in alignment. And we don't even know we're doing that. And the freedom that comes with that every single day, no matter what's going on, it's like, I at least have that. I at least got to that point of understanding. So thank you so much for having me on the show today.
Wendy, we're really excited to have you. And one of the reasons why you got invited back to the show is because our audience actually enjoys when you are on the show and they get so much value from what you bring. But you always leave us wanting more, Wendy. Every single time you bring up these ideas that really make us think and you leave us wanting more. So before we even go any further, I just want to ask you, for people who, after they've listened to us talk today, you're going to want to reach out to you. How can people connect with you?
Yes, please do. Absolutely. Because I want to connect with you. It's like when we're in this energy together, oh, it's magical. So, of course, you can find me on social. I'm on Instagram under LeadHerShip Revolution. I'm on Facebook and on LinkedIn as Wendy Lee. And if you want to get on my mailing list, I'll also like to offer everybody a free download, which is called the Vulnerability Advantage. Like, sometimes we feel like our vulnerability is like not this great thing that we have. It is. There's so many benefits to it. So you can go to leadhershiprevolution.com/vulnerability. It'll get you a free PDF guide and also get you on the mailing list. So we can stay in touch and exchange ideas.
Okay, so now everybody knows how to connect with my friend who's the best-selling author, superstar on stage. She's also an international speaker. She's a transformational coach, all these beautiful things. But I want to talk to you today about the idea of leadership and transformation and how incorporating these in our lives can actually help us to not only live our best lives, but also to raise our impact in the world and increase our abundance. We've been talking a little bit ahead of this conversation, and you gave us some really good tips. You shared with us that leadership requires for us to take responsibility and lead our lives in all aspects. Can you explain a little bit more about that? What does that mean?
Yeah, so I want to start with a question to the audience, and I want you to be honest with yourself. Do you feel like you're leading your own life, or do you feel like you're leading somebody else's life or for somebody else, right? It's kind of a natural thing that sometimes women do because we don't grow up being like, it's okay to just be your biggest self. We're more accommodating, girls are supposed to be more quiet and nice and sweet and sugar and spice and all whatever that rhyme was we learned as a little girl. And so a lot of times we dim our own light, right? We get smaller in order to accommodate everything else around us. And one day we wake up and we're like, what the frick? What happened? Whose life am I leading? So it's really about ask yourself that question and then start from, imagine if you really, I mean, really led from here first. It's scary because that feels selfish. We're not supposed to put ourselves first. But when you don't, and then you give to others from that maybe lower energy because you're giving it all away, nobody wins. Nobody wins. You know, you've been around your own energy or other people's energy where they're so frazzled and they're giving and doing things that they don't want to do. It feels very like this kind of energy, but we still swirl around in it, right? Because that's part of the agreement that we're making. But imagine if you started here first and really filled your cup up. But it takes some ownership to do that, right? We can't blame other people anymore. We can't bullseye other people that if only this changed from the outside, man, my life would be great. If only this person would act the way I want them to act, if only this company would give me the raise, if only this client would act this way, my life would be great. That's not leadership. That's follow the leader. That's the game we played when we were a kid. How are you taking the lead in your own life? What do you believe in? What's your passions? What do you know that you were brought to this earth to do that you've been maybe kind of putting in the back frame? And I know it's difficult. Look, we're workers, we're moms, we're friends. You know, we've got all of these responsibilities, but just taking a little bit of time to fill up first and lead here first, everything's easier. It really is.
I'm really enjoying what you're saying, Wendy. One of the things that you mentioned is that we need to lead in a way that first serves our needs.
Yeah.
One of my favorite mentors, Lisa Nichols, she talks about giving from your saucer and
Yes.
not from your cup. So basically, you're giving from your overflow.
Yes.
There's always enough to share from that. You mentioned how giving from that lower energy is problematic because when you do that, you don't win. The other person doesn't win either. And there is no win for the greater good. So it's not that win-win-win. And you know, on our end, when we're talking about any kind of interaction, we're always talking about it being that win-win-win-win, where you win, the other party wins, your client or customer, whoever your end user is, wins. And of course, there's a win for the greater good.
Yes.
But you're saying, Wendy, that when you give from that lower energy, there is no win. It's kind of like a waste of time. That's really, really, I feel, mind-blowing.
Yeah.
I like too that you talk about the fact that as women, we feel like we have to have permission to live the life that we want to live, and that's approaching it backwards. Can you say a little bit more about what that should look like?
Yes, absolutely. So there's no doubt that there's inequities, right? That's just a reality. I mean, generally speaking, women don't get paid as much as men. There's inequities with opportunities. It definitely exists. But I can tell you, our biggest obstacle is ourself. 100%. Our biggest obstacle is ourself, because we have gotten disconnected from accepting that, hey, if I really live the life that I want to live, that I have to kind of tiptoe in it, or I put my toe in the water a little bit and then see if it's okay. People are waiting for us to step up. Our soul is waiting for us to step up. That's not how we're created. I mean, think about it. Even if you watch an infant, they know how to lead their life. Hello, I'm hungry. Hello, I want to get played with. Hello, I need some attention.
That's so funny that you say that. I remember when my littles were little, and my husband and I would laugh so much all the time at them because we'd say, you know what, these kids are narcissists because they only care about what's important to them. They're not concerned that they have disrupted our whole schedule. They're interested in, hey, it's time to eat, bring on that food. Hey, I need to be changed, and I'm going to get vocal about it.
Right. It's the basic needs, right? And it's interesting that you said narcissistic because, of course, there's the negative, exaggerated version of that self. We're not talking about that. We're just talking about, like, really putting yourself first and doing some things for yourself, because otherwise, okay, here's the truth. Then we're just going around manipulating other people, other situations to get our needs met because we haven't yet honed in how to meet our own needs. We put the responsibility of everybody else. Oh, and by the way, when they don't do it the way that we wanted to have them do it, because, and we didn't tell them what we need, and then we get mad at them for not being able to read our mind. Now we're in this big old loop and we're not taking responsibility. You have the ability to respond to your life the way that you want to. Now, I'm saying that now after decades of not getting that. Because when things happen to us and we have to learn default patterns, right, in order to survive day to day, it's going to make sense that maybe we didn't learn all of these things to begin with. So it takes time. You know, I have worked with a coach for the last 10 years because I can't always see in myself what other people can see in there. And you have to have that kind of feedback. And by the way, people that come in your life, they're mirroring what's already in there. Right? So
Yeah.
there's this level of just having this awareness. And isn't it wonderful to know that the one thing that you can manage, if you want to talk about leadership as managing, is yourself? You can't manage other people. That's their responsibility. It's so much easier. Oh, that means I have to tweak this or tweak that in myself to have a different perspective. Easy peasy. You can do that. It's just an interesting, different concept, but it's already in us. We know that we know how to lead. We've just lost touch with it.
So, Wendy, we're all about practical applications here on this show. We're about transformation, we're about integration, we're about implementation. So, every show, we give everybody a little bit of homework to do. So, if people take one thing away from our conversation today, what's one thing they can just go right away and implement in their lives? And guys, there's going to be a test. Tune in next time. Just kidding.
So I'm going to take the pressure off, and I'm going to call it soul work, right? This is what you're going to do. This is work for your soul. I think if the one thing that you can do is to get curious. Get more curious and have more compassion for yourself. What do I mean by that? When you're in any situation where you start feeling the repercussions of not leading fully yourself, agitation, irritation, frustration, the I don't know how, I can't, whatever it is that shows up, right? Those are the symptoms. Those are all the symptoms. Just take a moment and reconnect with yourself with compassion, right? We say the hardest things to ourselves. So it's kind of like a stop, drop, and roll. I don't know if you guys remember that. That's from back when. Stop. Really take a deep breath. Is this really true? First of all, ask the question. with compassion. Okay, this makes sense. I'm probably doing this out of a reaction. And then roll with it. Stay in it. Stay in the feeling. Don't make it wrong. Don't make it whatever. And just take your next action step from there. But give yourself some grace and know that you have the power to lead your life the way you want through the decisions that you make and the reaction that you have. It may not be your first response. Great, no problem. I haven't gotten that magic pill yet. But stop, drop, and roll. Get curious, have some compassion, then take your next step.
Get curious, have some compassion, and then take your next step. That's your homework, guys.
Yeah.
Really and truly, let's spend some time diving into what it really means to be a leader now, because truly the paradigm is shifting. It doesn't look exactly the same as it always did. And now there's a call for you to be a leader. There's a call for me to be a leader. There's a call for Wendy to be a leader. There's a call for, like Oprah says, everybody is a leader. So you're being called and you need to answer that call. If you're a speaker, if you're a teacher, if you are an author, if you're a professional of any sort, if you are an entrepreneur, if you're a small business owner, if you are serving clients and
Yeah.
they are getting a benefit for interacting with you, then you, my friend, are a leader. Not necessarily in that traditional way that leadership has looked in the past, but the new paradigm of leadership, you fit perfectly right into that. And so what your call is now is to focus on lighting up the people that you've been called here to light up. Focus on expanding your reach so that the people who are losing sleep at night because they need what you offer, that they can find you in a way that is easy and in flow. And guess what? You're a leader and I'm a leader. So when you need support, there might be things that might be easy for you and things that might require support. I'm here to prop you up on my end. And when Wendy needs support, I'm here to prop her up. And when I need support, all of you are here for me. And it is in that supporting each other that the greater good wins overall. That's what I think. That's what actually I know. For sure.
I loved exactly how you said that. The whole thing about leading from here, you're building your shine, you're bringing your shine out, and you literally just have to walk around with that shine, and people are going to start, oh, there you are, there you are, and then we just connect, and that's how we really do change this collective consciousness, because it's dying, it's begging for us to do that. And you don't have to be perfect, you don't have to be fixed, you don't have to be healed. Bring all of that with you. Those are the gifts. And then you just be. Then you just
And
be.
it's interesting because the things that you go through, the things that you might think to be the hardest parts of yourself, those are the pieces that sometimes can help to support others who have gone through or who are going through that same exact thing. You're going to be able to support them in a much, much better way. So embrace all the pieces of you, like Wendy's saying. I really, truly believe that the things that we go through, our struggles, end up being somebody else's roadmap for success. Guys, where does the time go? The time flies by so fast, but you know what they say? Time flies when you're having fun. I invite you to come on over and keep this conversation going. We're having conversation every day with people who are just like me, just like Wendy, just like you, over on our Ladies Power Lunch Facebook group. All you need to do is go to growsmarternotharder.com. We have one barrier to entry, and that is you have to be the kind of person who believes that supporting each other is a great idea. As long as you believe that, then we welcome you with open arms. Thank you all so much for joining today, and I'll see you guys on the next show. Bye, everyone.
Bye, everybody.